The night sky over the Atacama Desert in Chile was clear and full of stars. Inside the control room of the Deep Space Monitoring Station, Dr. Maria Rodriguez sipped her coffee, her eyes fixed on the screens in front of her. It was another quiet night shift, or so she thought. Suddenly, a sharp beep cut through the silence. Maria sat up straight, her coffee forgotten. On her screen, a strange signal pulsed, unlike anything she had seen before. "Hey, Carlos, come look at this," she called to her colleague. Carlos hurried over, his eyes widening as he saw the signal. "What is that?" he asked, his voice full of wonder. "I don't know," Maria replied, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "But it's not from any of our satellites or space stations." As they watched, the signal grew stronger. It wasn't random noise. It had a pattern, a rhythm. It was a message. Within hours, the news spread. All over the world, similar stations picked up the signal. Scientists, governments, and ordinary people alike were buzzing with excitement and fear. Was this it? The moment humanity had been waiting for. First contact with alien life. In New York, the United Nations called an emergency meeting. Leaders from all countries gathered to discuss what to do. Should they respond to the signal? What if it was a trick? What if answering put Earth in danger? Dr. Rodriguez was flown in to explain the signal to the UN. She stood at the podium, her heart racing, as she faced the world's most powerful people. "The message is a distress call," she said, her voice echoing in the large hall. "We've decoded part of it. There's an alien fleet out there, and they're in trouble." The room erupted in chaos. Some leaders wanted to ignore the call, to protect Earth. Others argued it was their duty to help. In the middle of the heated debate, a young voice spoke up. "We have to help them." All eyes turned to the speaker. It was Commander Jack Harper, the youngest astronaut in NASA's history. He stood tall, his eyes shining with determination. "Think about it," he said. "If we were lost in space, wouldn't we hope someone would answer our call? This is our chance to show the universe what humanity is capable of." His words hung in the air. Slowly, the mood in the room began to change. The President of the United States stood up. "Commander Harper is right," she said. "We have the technology. We have the courage. Let's show these aliens what humanity can do." One by one, other leaders agreed. It was decided. Earth would answer the call. Over the next few days, the whole world worked together like never before. Scientists raced to fully decode the alien message. Engineers designed new spacecraft that could make the long journey. Countries shared their best technology and brightest minds. Commander Harper was chosen to lead the mission. He would captain the HSS Hope, Earth's most advanced spaceship. His crew was made up of the best scientists, engineers, and diplomats from all over the world. On the day of the launch, millions of people watched. The HSS Hope stood on the launch pad, gleaming in the sunlight. Inside, Commander Harper and his crew ran final checks. "All systems go," Harper said into his radio. "We're ready for launch." As the countdown began, Harper thought about the incredible journey ahead. They were about to go further into space than any human had ever gone before. They were about to meet aliens. The fate of two civilizations might rest on their shoulders. The engines roared to life. The HSS Hope lifted off, climbing higher and higher. As Earth grew smaller below them, Harper sent one last message. "To all the people of Earth," he said, his voice carried to every corner of the globe. "We go into the unknown, not just for humanity, but for all life in the universe. Wish us luck." With that, the HSS Hope disappeared into the depths of space, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire planet. The rescue mission had begun. Humanity's greatest adventure was about to unfold. The HS Hope floated silently in the darkness of space. Inside, Commander Jack Harper looked out at the stars. Earth was now just a tiny blue dot behind them. Their journey to save the alien fleet had begun. "Status report," Jack said into his communicator. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's chief scientist, answered. "All systems are running smoothly. "Commander, we're on course to reach the alien fleet in 6 months." Jack nodded. 6 months was a long time to be in space. He hoped his crew was ready for the challenges ahead. The crew of the HFY Hope was the best Earth had to offer. There was Dr. Tanaka, a brilliant physicist from Japan; Major Sarah Chen, a tough space marine from China; Dr. Mohammed Al-Fayed, a language expert from Egypt; and many more, each bringing unique skills to the mission. As the days passed, the crew settled into a routine. They trained, studied the alien message, and prepared for first contact. But life in space wasn't easy. One day, alarms blared through the ship. Jack rushed to the engine room. "What's happening?" he shouted over the noise. Engineer Raj Patel was frantically working at a console. "The main reactor is overheating," he said, sweat on his brow. "If we don't fix it, we'll lose power to the whole ship." Jack and Raj worked together, their hands flying over the controls. The rest of the crew held their breath. Finally, the alarms stopped. "That was close," Jack said, wiping his forehead. "Good work, Raj." Raj grinned. "Just doing my job, Commander." As they left the engine room, Jack realized something. This crisis had brought the crew closer together. They were no longer just colleagues. They were becoming a family. Weeks turned into months. The crew faced many challenges. The ship's AI malfunctioned, sending them off course. A solar flare damaged their communications array. Each time, they worked together to find a solution. But the biggest challenge was loneliness. Being so far from home was hard on everyone. Arguments broke out over small things. People missed their families and friends on Earth. Jack knew he had to do something. He organized movie nights, chess tournaments, and even a space Olympics. Slowly, morale improved. The crew remembered why they were on this mission. They were making history. One day, Dr. Tanaka made an exciting discovery. "Commander," she called out, "I've decoded more of the alien message. It seems their entire civilization is on those ships." The crew gathered to hear the news. The aliens, called the Zarkonian, had fled their dying star system. Their fleet carried millions of refugees, looking for a new home. "This changes everything," Major Chen said. "We're not just saving a few ships. We're saving an entire species." The news gave the crew new energy. They worked harder than ever, knowing what was at stake. As they neared the end of their journey, Jack called a meeting. "We're about to make first contact with an alien species," he said. "This is what we've trained for. Whatever happens, remember, we represent the best of humanity." The crew nodded, determination in their eyes. They were ready. Suddenly, the ship's sensors lit up. "Commander," the navigator called out, "we're picking up the alien fleet. We've reached the coordinates." Everyone rushed to the windows. In the distance, they saw it. A massive collection of ships, dark and silent in space, the Zarkonian fleet. "Take us in slowly," Jack ordered, "and open a communication channel. Let's introduce ourselves." As the HFY Hope approached the alien fleet, the crew held their breath. This was the moment they had traveled so far for. The moment that would change human history forever. Jack cleared his throat and spoke into the communicator. "This is Commander Jack Harper of the HFY Hope from Earth. We received your distress call, and we're here to help." For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a strange voice crackled over the speakers. The aliens' words were unintelligible, but the tone was clear. It was filled with relief and gratitude. The crew of the HFY Hope looked at each other, smiles breaking out on their faces. They had done it. They had made first contact. Now, the real work would begin. As they prepared to dock with the alien ship, Jack felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. What would these aliens be like? How would they communicate? What challenges lay ahead? One thing was certain. Humanity had taken its first step into a larger universe, and they had done it not with weapons or threats, but with compassion and a desire to help. Jack felt proud. This was humanity at its best. The adventure was just beginning. The airlock hissed open. Commander Jack Harper took a deep breath and stepped onto the alien ship. His heart raced with excitement and fear. This was it, the first face-to-face meeting between humans and aliens. Behind Jack, Dr. Yuki Tanaka clutched a tablet with their most advanced translation software. Dr. Mohammed Al-Fayed, the linguist, stood ready to decipher any alien language. The corridor before them was dimly lit and curved. Strange symbols covered the walls. The air smelled different, like a mix of ozone and something sweet. "Stay alert," Jack whispered to his team. Suddenly, a door slid open. 3 tall figures emerged. The humans gasped. The aliens were unlike anything they had imagined. They stood on 4 legs, with 2 arm-like limbs near the top of their bodies. Their skin shimmered with a blue-green iridescence, but most striking were their eyes, large, multifaceted, and glowing softly in the dim light. For a moment, both groups just stared at each other. Then, one of the aliens stepped forward. It made a series of clicking and whistling sounds. Dr. Al-Fayed's eyes widened. "It's trying to communicate," he said excitedly. Dr. Tanaka's fingers flew over her tablet. The translation AI worked furiously to decipher the alien language. Jack took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "We come in peace. We're here to help." The alien tilted its head, listening. Then it raised one of its limbs and pointed at Jack's chest. "I think it wants to know who you are," Dr. Al-Fayed suggested. Jack nodded. He placed a hand on his chest. "Jack," he said slowly. "My name is Jack." The alien mimicked the gesture with its limb. It made a sound that almost seemed like zizak. A smile spread across Jack's face. It was working. They were communicating. Over the next few hours, the 2 groups worked tirelessly to understand each other. The translation AI improved rapidly, learning the complex Zarkonian language. The humans learned that the aliens called themselves the Zarkonian. Their entire civilization, millions of individuals, was aboard this fleet of ships. They had fled their home system when their star began to die, searching for a new world to call home. But their journey had been fraught with danger. Their ships, while advanced in some ways, lacked the power to continue their voyage. They had been drifting in space, slowly running out of resources, when they sent out their desperate call for help. As Jack listened to their story, he felt a wave of sympathy. These weren't just aliens. They were refugees, families looking for safety. But then came a surprise. As Dr. Tanaka examined some of the Zarkonian technology, her eyes grew wide with shock. "Commander," she said, her voice filled with disbelief. "Their technology, in many areas, it's centuries behind ours." Jack was stunned. How could a species capable of interstellar travel be so far behind Earth in other areas? The lead Zarkonian, who had introduced itself as High Commander Zura, noticed their surprise. It made a series of clicks and whistles. The translation came through. "You seem surprised by our technology. Is yours different?" Jack hesitated, unsure how to respond. He didn't want to seem boastful or make the Zarkonian feel inferior, but honesty was important for building trust. "Yes," he said carefully. "In some areas, our technology is more advanced, but I'm sure there's much we can learn from each other." Zura's multifaceted eyes seemed to glitter with interest. "Perhaps this meeting was fortunate for both our peoples," it clicked. As the humans continued to explore the Zarkonian ship, they were filled with a mix of awe and confusion. The alien biology was fascinatingly complex, far beyond Earth's creatures, but their computers seemed primitive, their power systems inefficient. "It's like they focused all their development on space travel and biology," Dr. Tanaka mused. "Everything else fell behind." This realization brought new challenges. How could they help repair the Zarkonian ships without completely rewriting their technology? Would the aliens accept such drastic changes? As the day wore on, cultural misunderstandings arose. The Zarkonian had very different ideas about personal space, often crowding the humans in ways that made them uncomfortable. Their concept of time was radically different, making scheduling repairs a nightmare. But despite the challenges, progress was made. The humans' willingness to help and the Zarkonians' gratitude formed a bridge between their species. As Jack prepared to return to the HS Hope for the night, Zura approached him. The alien made a gesture that the translation AI interpreted as one of deep respect. "You came when no one else would." Zura clicked. "You crossed the stars to aid strangers. We will not forget this." Jack felt a lump in his throat. In that moment, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, this mission, this connection between two species, was worth it. As he looked out at the vast Zarkonian fleet, Jack realized that this was just the beginning. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger, more complex universe, and they had done it not with weapons or fear, but with compassion and courage. The real work was about to begin. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The human engineers, led by Raj Patel, spread out across the Zarkonian fleet, assessing the damage to their ships. What they found was both fascinating and alarming. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," Raj told Commander Jack Harper. "Their engines are incredibly efficient, but their power distribution systems are a mess. It's a miracle they made it this far." Jack nodded, his brow furrowed. "Can we fix it?" Raj grinned. "Oh, we can do more than fix it. We can make it better." The humans devised an ingenious plan. They would use their advanced technology to repair and upgrade the Zarkonian ships, but in a way that was compatible with the aliens' existing systems. It was like fitting a supercomputer into a typewriter, but Raj and his team were up for the challenge. As the work began, new problems arose. The Zarkonian biology was so different from humans that simple tasks became complicated. Their three-fingered hands couldn't operate human tools, and their eyes couldn't see certain colors that were crucial to Earth electronics. Dr. Yuki Tanaka came up with a solution. "We'll design new interfaces," she said, "ones that both species can use." Her idea worked brilliantly. Soon, humans and Zarkonians were working side by side, repairing damaged hulls and rewiring complex systems. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural misunderstandings led to some tense moments. The Zarkonians had a strict hierarchy based on body color, which clashed with the humans' more flexible command structure. And the aliens' idea of personal space was very different from humans, leading to some awkward situations. Dr. Mohammed Al-Fayed worked tirelessly to bridge these cultural gaps. He organized cultural exchange sessions where humans and Zarkonians could learn about each other's customs and beliefs. "Remember," he told the human crew, "we're not just fixing their ships. We're building a relationship between our species." As the days passed, the massive rescue operation began to show results. Ships that had been drifting helplessly for years hummed back to life. The Zarkonians watched in awe as their fleet was transformed. But then, disaster struck. Alarms blared across the Zarkonian flagship. Jack rushed to the bridge, where he found High Commander Zura in a state of panic. "What's happening?" Jack asked. Zura's clicks and whistles came fast and frantic. The translation AI struggled to keep up. "Sabotage. Traitor. Engines overloading." Jack's mind raced. The saboteur. But why? He turned to his team. "Raj, Yuki with me. We need to get to the engine room now." They raced through the alien corridors, Zarkonians scuttling out of their way. When they reached the engine room, they found chaos. Zarkonian engineers were frantically working at control panels, but it was clear they were out of their depth. Raj pushed his way to the main console. His eyes widened as he saw the readings. "The power core is going critical," he shouted. "If it blows, it'll take out half the fleet." Jack made a split-second decision. "Can we eject it?" Raj shook his head. "The ejection systems are fried. Someone really did a number on this ship." "Then we have to shut it down manually," Jack said. He turned to Zura. We need to get to the core. Now. Zura hesitated, then nodded. It led them deeper into the ship, to a massive chamber pulsing with energy. In the center floated a sphere of swirling blue-green light. That's the power core, Yuki asked, awe in her voice. Zura clicked in affirmative. Jack took a deep breath. Okay, team. Let's do this. What followed was the most intense hour of their lives. Raj and Yuki worked feverishly, applying their Earth knowledge to the alien technology. Jack and Zura coordinated their efforts, bridging the gap between human and Zarkonian systems. Finally, with seconds to spare, the core's pulsing slowed and then stopped. The ship grew quiet. For a moment, everyone stood in stunned silence. Then cheers erupted, human and Zarkonian voices mingling in celebration. As the excitement died down, Jack turned to Zura. We need to talk about this saboteur, he said grimly. Zura's multifaceted eyes dimmed. Yes, it clicked softly. We do. As they left the engine room, Jack knew that their mission had just become much more complicated. They hadn't just come to fix ships anymore. Now they had to uncover a conspiracy that threatened both their species. The rescue operation had turned into something much bigger. But as Jack looked at his team, human and Zarkonian working together, he felt a glimmer of hope. Together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The adventure was far from over. The mood on the Zarkonian flagship was tense. Commander Jack Harper sat across from High Commander Zura, their translator working overtime to keep up with the rapid exchange. We need to find this saboteur, Jack said firmly. The safety of both our crews depends on it. Zura's multifaceted eyes flickered with worry. We fear the saboteur may be part of a group, those who oppose contact with other species. Jack leaned back, surprised. You have isolationists among your people. Yes, Zura clicked sadly. They believe outside contact will corrupt our culture. Before Jack could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A panicked Zarkonian burst into the room, clicking and whistling frantically. The translator struggled to keep up. Emergency. Largest ship. Life support failing. Jack and Zura exchanged a look of horror. The largest Zarkonian ship housed millions of their people in cryosleep. If life support failed, they would all die. We need to evacuate them, Jack said, already moving towards the door. Zura's limbs waved in distress. Impossible. There are too many. And waking them from cryosleep takes time we don't have. Jack's mind raced. They couldn't evacuate millions, but they couldn't let them die either. Then an idea struck him. We don't evacuate them, he said. We bring the life support to them. In the next hour, the human and Zarkonian crews worked at a frenzied pace. Engineers from the HSS Hope rushed to modify their ship's powerful life support systems. We're going to hook our systems directly into their ship, Raj explained as they worked. It's risky, but it's our only chance. As they prepared, Jack received a transmission from Earth. The UN Security Council had been monitoring the situation. They were concerned about the risk to the human crew. Return to Earth immediately, the order came. The risk is too great. Jack looked around at his crew, then at the Zarkonians working alongside them. He made his decision. With all due respect, he replied, we can't abandon these people now. He turned off the comm link, knowing he had just defied a direct order. But as he met the determined gazes of his crew, he knew he had made the right choice. The plan was dangerous. They would need to physically connect the HSS Hope to the failing Zarkonian ship. The stress could tear both ships apart. I'll suit up and make the connection myself, Jack announced. His crew protested, but he stood firm. It's my responsibility, he said. I won't ask anyone to take this risk in my place. As Jack prepared to step into the airlock, Dr. Yuki Tanaka approached him. Her usually calm face was etched with worry. Jack, she said softly, please be careful. He nodded, touched by her concern. I will. The space between the two ships was a void of silent danger. Jack maneuvered carefully, the heavy life support cable trailing behind him. One wrong move could send him spinning into the darkness of space. As he worked to connect the cable, he saw movement out of the corner of his eye. Another suited figure was approaching, but it wasn't one of his crew. It was a Zarkonian, its 4 legs curled beneath its suit, moving with surprising grace in zero gravity. Jack tensed, remembering the saboteur. But the Zarkonian made no aggressive moves. Instead, it began to help, its 3-fingered hands working alongside Jack's to secure the connection. Together, human and Zarkonian, they completed the link. Immediately, Jack could feel the HFY Hope shudder as it began pumping life-giving air and power into the failing alien ship. But their troubles weren't over. As they re-entered the Zarkonian ship, alarms were blaring. The strain on both ships was immense. "The connection is holding," Raj's voice crackled over the comm. "But our engines are overheating. We can't keep this up for long." Jack looked at the Zarkonian who had helped him. Through the suit's faceplate, he could see its multifaceted eyes, filled with gratitude and fear. In that moment, Jack knew what he had to do. It was risky, it might not work, but it was their only chance to save both ships. "Raj," he said into his comm, "redirect all power from life support and artificial gravity to the engines. We're going to tow this ship to safety." There was a moment of stunned silence. Then Raj's voice came back, shaky but determined. "Aye, Commander. Redirecting power now." As the gravity disappeared and the air grew thin, Jack felt a strange sense of calm. He looked at his alien companion and gave a thumbs up, a human gesture of hope. The Zarkonian understood. It raised a limb in return, mirroring the gesture. In the face of crisis, 2 species had come together. Whatever happened next, they would face it united. The rescue mission had become a fight for survival, and it was far from over. The vast emptiness of space was disturbed by an extraordinary sight, the HFY Hope. A tiny vessel compared to the massive Zarkonian ship, strained against the impossible task of towing the alien craft. Inside both ships, humans and Zarkonians fought together for survival. Commander Jack Harper floated in zero gravity, his breath shallow in the thinning air. Beside him, the Zarkonian who had helped him make the connection watched with its multifaceted eyes. They couldn't speak, but a shared look conveyed their determination. On the bridge of the HFY Hope, Raj's fingers flew over the controls. "The engines are at 120% capacity," he shouted. They weren't designed for this kind of strain. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, monitoring life support, called out, "Oxygen levels are critical. We have maybe 20 minutes before we start losing consciousness." Jack's voice crackled over the comm. "We don't need 20 minutes. We need 5. Give it everything we've got." As if in response to his words, the ship lurched forward. The massive Zarkonian vessel, housing millions of lives, began to move. On the Zarkonian bridge, High Commander Zura clicked and whistled rapidly to its crew. The translator, working on minimal power, struggled to keep up. "Divert all power. Engines. Help the humans." Suddenly, the Zarkonian ship's own engines flared to life. It wasn't much, but combined with the HFY Hope's effort, it was enough to increase their speed. Jack felt a surge of hope. "That's it," he shouted. "We're doing it." But their troubles weren't over. As they moved, the stress on the connection between the ships increased. Alarms blared as hairline fractures began to appear. "The connection's failing," Raj yelled. "If it breaks, we'll lose them." Jack made a split-second decision. "I'm going back out," he said, already moving towards the airlock. "Jack, no." Yuki's voice was filled with fear. "The radiation levels out there are too high. You'll never survive." Jack paused for a moment. "We didn't come this far to fail now," he said softly. Then, to everyone's surprise, he switched to the Zarkonian communication channel. "I need a volunteer," he said. There was a moment of silence, then a flurry of clicks and whistles. The Zarkonian beside Jack immediately moved to join him. Together, human and alien stepped into the airlock. As the door opened, exposing them to the vacuum of space, Jack felt a moment of pure awe. Before them stretched the infinite cosmos, beautiful and terrifying. Working in perfect sync, Jack and the Zarkonian moved along the connection between the ships. The radiation was intense, their suits offering minimal protection. But they pressed on, repairing the fractures, reinforcing the weak points. Inside the ships, both crews watched in amazement. The sight of human and Zarkonian working together, risking everything to save both species, was inspiring beyond words. As Jack and his alien partner finished their work and returned to the airlock, a cheer went up. It echoed through both ships, a unified sound of hope and triumph. The next few minutes were tense as they waited to see if their efforts had been enough. Then, slowly but surely, both ships began to stabilize. Rad's excited voice came over the comm. "We did it. We're clear of the danger zone. Both ships are safe." The celebration that followed was unlike anything in human or Zarkonian history. Two species, strangers just days ago, embraced and cheered together. The translator struggled to keep up with the flood of joyful exclamations in dozens of human languages and Zarkonian dialects. As the excitement died down, Jack found himself face to face with High Commander Zura. The alien leader extended a limb in the human gesture of a handshake. Jack took it, feeling the strange texture of the Zarkonian skin. "Your people," Zura clicked, "have saved us all. We owe you a debt we can never repay." Jack smiled tiredly. "That's not how friends work," he said. "We help each other. That's all." Zura's multifaceted eyes seemed to sparkle. "Friends," it repeated, as if testing the word. "Yes, I believe we are." As medical teams tended to the injured and engineers began repairing the damage, Jack looked out at the stars. The HFY Hope had lived up to its name. They had come seeking to rescue a stranded alien fleet. Instead, they had forged an alliance that would change the course of both their civilizations. The Zarkonian ships were no longer drifting helplessly in space. With human technology and alien determination, the fleet was ready to continue its journey. But now, they wouldn't be traveling alone. As Jack watched human and Zarkonian crews working side by side, he knew that this was just the beginning. The greatest adventure of all was yet to come. The journey back to Earth was filled with anticipation. The HSS Hope led the way, guiding the massive Zarkonian fleet through the stars. Commander Jack Harper stood on the bridge, watching as the familiar blue planet grew larger in the view screen. "Home," he said softly, a mix of emotions in his voice. Beside him, High Commander Zurek clicked excitedly. The translator conveyed its words. "It's beautiful, like a jewel in the darkness." As they approached Earth, the ship's communication system crackled to life. It was a message from the United Nations Security Council. "Commander Harper," a stern voice said, "you disobeyed direct orders. You risked the lives of your crew and exposed Earth to potential danger. Explain yourself." Jack took a deep breath. He had been expecting this. "With all due respect," he replied, "we did what was right. We saved millions of lives and made first contact with a peaceful, advanced species. I believe history will show we made the right choice." There was a long pause. Then, to everyone's surprise, cheers erupted from the speaker. The stern voice returned, now warm with pride. "Well done, Commander. Earth welcomes you and our new allies home." As the HSS Hope entered Earth's atmosphere, followed by a small delegation of Zarkonian ships, the world below was in a frenzy of excitement. News of the alien fleet had spread, and people everywhere were glued to their screens. The landing site was packed with world leaders, scientists, and media from every nation. As the ship's doors opened, Jack led his crew out, side by side with Zura and the Zarkonian representatives. The crowd fell silent, then erupted in cheers and applause. Cameras flashed as human and alien stood together for the first time on Earth's soil. In the days that followed, the world changed rapidly. Scientists from every field clamored to learn from the Zarkonians. The aliens' advanced biology offered new hope for curing diseases. Their space travel technology promised to revolutionize human exploration of the cosmos. But it wasn't just humanity that was changing. The Zarkonians, long isolated in their fleet, were fascinated by Earth's diverse cultures and environments. They marveled at oceans and forests, things they had only read about in ancient texts. As the two species shared knowledge, a new problem arose. The Zarkonians needed a new home, a planet where they could rebuild their civilization. Earth was already crowded, and their biology was not completely compatible with Earth's ecosystem. Jack and Zura found themselves in long meetings with world leaders, trying to find a solution. It was Jack who finally proposed an idea. "We have the technology now," he said, pointing to a star map. "With our combined knowledge, we could terraform Mars. It could be a new home for the Zarkonians, right in our solar system." The idea caught fire. Within months, a joint human-Zarkonian mission to Mars was underway. It would take years, but both species were committed to the project. As the terraforming began, other changes were happening on Earth. The presence of the Zarkonians had united humanity in a way nothing else could. Old conflicts seemed petty in the face of the vast universe and its possibilities. Universities started offering courses in Zarkonian language and culture. Zarkonian art and music became the latest trends, and more than a few human Zarkonian friendships blossomed into something deeper, raising interesting questions about the future of both species. 1 year after the return to Earth, Jack found himself back on the HFY Hope. But this time, he wasn't alone. Zura stood beside him, along with a crew of both humans and Zarkonians. Their mission: to explore the galaxy together. As the ship lifted off, Jack looked at his diverse crew. Humans and aliens working side by side, united in their curiosity and hope for the future. He couldn't help but smile. "Where to, Commander?" his navigator asked. Jack exchanged a look with Zura. The alien's multifaceted eyes sparkled with the same excitement he felt. "Everywhere," Jack said. "We're going to see it all." As the HSS Hope accelerated towards the stars, Jack reflected on how much had changed. A distress call had led to the greatest adventure in human history. They had set out to rescue a stranded alien fleet, but in the end, both species had rescued each other. Together, they had opened the door to a future brighter than either could have imagined alone. The story of humanity's first steps into the galactic community had only just begun, and it promised to be an adventure beyond their wildest dreams.